Welcome to HFY Sci-fi channel. Don't forget to subscribe and explore. Cargo bay lights burned with hollow brilliance while steel catwalks quivered under ragged breathing. A sea of foil blankets shimmered like moonlit water, each ripple betraying a muffled shiver. Recycled air tasted of iron filings, thin and sharp, yet breaths came faster, greedier, as panic pressed against ribs already bruised by uncertainty. Rows of miners' families huddled against bulkhead curves, cheeks raw from stale chill that seeped through silver layers. Bare toes curled toward heat once offered by home hearths, heat now replaced by a distant hum of failing climate pump. Silence refused rest. It pulsed, it scratched, insisting upon attention even when eyelids sagged from hunger's weight. Crates once packed with nutrient bars stood hollow, lids ajar, cardboard edges fraying under anxious fingers that searched for crumbs. Every wrapper's rustle echoed like thunder, announcing dwindling reserves to children clutching empty cups with white-knuckled resolve. Lips formed polite requests, hunger winning over pride, yet each appeal met ration officers who repeated corporate assurances delivered over intercom. Upbeat reports claiming full safety, swift relief, harmony throughout fleet corridors. Thin sheets of condensation traced lazy paths down support columns, gathering into droplets that kissed deck plates and vanished in faint puffs of vapor. Condensation trails resembled tear tracks, marking hull skin with proof of unseen grief. Footfalls avoided wet patches, wary of slips that might draw unwanted attention from patrolling drones gliding overhead. Rotor wine cut across stale atmosphere, amber status lights sweeping blanket mounds, counting heads, recording vitals, sending data toward executive suites fragrant with imported citrus and polished mahogany. Among clustered families, whispers carried rumors of friends stranded inside shuttle holds, rumors of airlocks sealed under quarantine protocols, rumors of storage bays pressed into makeshift morgues. Faces gathered each whispered thread, weaving private fears behind eyes already rimmed red. Mouths pressed against blanket edges to muffle gasps, guarding fragile dignity in spaces where dignity rarely survived longer than a single meal cycle. One corner of cargo bay, nearest service vents, became a sanctuary for mothers sharing lullabies that once drifted over warm kitchens. Voices scarcely rose above engine thrum, yet melody lingered, fragile yet defiant, wrapping children in memories richer than any corporate message. Tiny fingers tapped rhythm upon blanket foil, creating percussion too soft for drone sensors yet strong enough to draw hesitant smiles from nearby strangers. Steel beneath blankets proved unforgiving. Spines ached, muscles cramped, yet occupants resisted stretching legs toward aisles patrolled by harvest bots assigned to collect refuse. Each automated cart rolled past with mechanical cheer, announcing sanitation protocols while ignoring gaunt faces reflected in polished casings. When carts returned empty, a few daring hands slid scraps inside hidden pockets, trading risk for a mouthful of flavor long forgotten. Time slipped sideways under artificial chronometers, cycles blending into haze. Cargo bay lighting dimmed during scheduled rest periods, though rest seldom arrived. Instead, eyes tracked ceiling panels, waiting for any flicker of power fluctuation that might signal further failure. In those hours, breath clouds danced above blankets, swirling into shapes that suggested distant mountains, winding rivers, skies free of steel prisons. Near main hatch, ration log screens displayed cheerful graphs colored in emerald and gold, proclaiming sustainability ratios, projecting surplus curves, celebrating efficient care. Each new statistic erased lived reality scraped across bruised skin. Yet eyes still watched screens, searching for cracks in bright veneer, some clue revealing truth behind curated data. None appeared. Graphs remained immaculate, indifferent to ribs pressing against threadbare shirts. A distant klaxon, short, sharp, announced delivery shuttle arrival somewhere beyond cargo ring. Hope surged across blanket sea, rising like tide beneath lunar pull. Figures sprang upright, hearts racing toward imagined warmth. Minutes crawled. Gates stayed sealed. No murmur of carts, No rush of auxiliaries bearing food or medicine. Only quiet returned, heavier than before, draping shoulders in fresh fatigue. Air filters stuttered. For a heartbeat, oxygen flavor shifted, yielding metallic bite that seared throats, prompting coughs quickly smothered behind palms. Filter hum resumed, yet memory of that metallic lash lingered, sharpening awareness that breath itself relied upon machinery humming far above pay grade of those stranded beneath foil. Hunger joined chill, forging alliance intent on dismantling resolve. Yet eyes still met across rows, silent agreements forming, promising endurance until unseen sunrise. Blankets rustled into crude tents where stories surfaced, accounts of subterranean loads, songs of shared shifts, jokes carved from old working days. Laughter rose, brittle yet bright, floating past patrolling drones that registered sound spikes without grasping meaning. Cargo bay endured, a beast forged of bulkhead steel and whispered promises. Its belly swelled with bodies seeking mercy, its ribs groaned under strain of each collective heartbeat. Somewhere within labyrinth of decks above, corporate officers drafted memos praising evacuation efficiency, signing status reports that erased every pang reverberating through shadows below. Yet pulse persisted. Foil shimmered. Breaths intertwined. In that shimmering hush, a single certainty settled among weary hearts. Life still flickered, fragile yet fierce, refusing surrender while any ember of will remained to guard it. Rusted conduit walls pressed close, metal sweating under recycled humidity as ship gravity pulsed through girders. A compact figure moved within that hidden artery, boots grazing cable bundles, palms sliding across grease-smudged gratings to muffle each advance toward cargo bay junction. Lamplight from a slim torch painted seams in copper amber, revealing rattling valve stems and flaking serial tags. Every mechanical sigh emerged louder inside this cramped vein, yet breath remained measured, paced with engineer's precision. Pressure sensor plate ahead gleamed faintly. A gloved thumb bridged contacts, persuading locks, coaxing hatch to glide aside with barely a whisper. Cold draft raced upward, carrying faint scent of human fear mixed with coolant. A descent followed, silent ladder steps, knees bending into gravity's tug, until service floor met rubber soles. HUD visor confirmed patrol drones on distant sweep arcs, green icons drifting across schematic overlay. Timing windows pulsed in calm blue, movement synchronized to those pulses, body flowing from shadow to shadow. Cargo bay bulkhead stood ahead, brushed steel smeared by countless palm prints. A shiver rolled across rows of foil blankets inside, silver sheets crinkling like wind-touched leaves. Eyes, wide and hollow, tracked lone newcomer through tear-streaked cheeks as trembling breath raised clouds in dim light. Near a ventilation stack, a child crouched beneath rumpled blanket, shoulders quaking. Hands hugged knees, eyelids half-closed yet searching for any sign of warmth beyond failing life support grids. Boots halted 2 paces away. Technician knelt, visor disengaged, face revealed. Jaw tight yet gaze steady, carrying kindness forged within machinery corridors. Words arrived softer than ducted airflow. "Come with me." 3 syllables, carried upon settling hush, spread across blanket ocean faster than emergency sirens ever could. Surrounding breaths caught mid-exhale. Rations forgotten, despair paused, as occupants leaned toward sound that promised passage beyond steel prison. Small fingers reached forward. Palm met steady hands scarred by maintenance work. Grip tightened, tiny pulse racing against warmer skin. Around them, foil rustled as heads lifted, infusing stale air with faint stir of purpose. Technician rose, guiding child toward hatch recess where conduit ladder waited. Each step invited fresh courage among witnesses. Whispered pledge echoed through hungry ribs, igniting resolve untouched by corporate memos or sanitized graphs. Drone motors whirred closer. Sensors scanned yet registered only routine heat signatures, false comm preserved by manual spoof code still looping in maintenance buffer. Child vanished into shaft above, guided upward by sure grip. Blankets parted elsewhere, mothers rising first, fathers following, elders steadying shuffling lines, hearts thundering with fragile belief. Cargo bay gloom breathed differently, charged by momentum no ration list could quantify. Rustling blankets evolved into concerted motion, voices merging in hushed coordination, each cadence matching hatch cycle countdown displayed on visor glass of solitary technician who already planned next stealth corridor, next relay lock, next breath toward freedom. Steam hissed from a fractured coolant line, pearly mist swirling across auxiliary workshop high above cargo deck. Work lamps pinned shapes against bay wall, each halo trembling with vibration from ballast thrusters rumbling beyond bulkheads. Beneath harsh glow, 4 figures gathered, garments ragged, eyes brightened by shared purpose yet shadowed by lingering hunger. Chitin plates along Rel's forearms glimmered as multi-jointed hands traced wiring diagrams projected onto a rusted crate. Precision in every movement quieted doubts gnawing at the group, expertise promising passage through security relays guarding an unfinished arc anchored in aft shipyard. Mandible clicks filled pauses between heartbeats and coolant hiss, language of calculations and risk weighed in silence. Technician crouched beside crate, grease streaks marking cheek where visor frame had pressed during duct crawl. Mind mapped routes across blueprint lattice, charting patrol gaps, bulkhead overrides, energy diversions required to breathe life into silent vessel. Voice stayed low, each syllable carved for clarity, for careless hope could shatter fragile will faster than a patrol bot's stun charge. Dr. Ilari adjusted a woven shawl, fingertips brushing medic badges dulled by age. Lined face revealed scholarly past buried beneath evacuation chaos, yet gaze still burned with analytical fire. Words arrived measured and warm, prescribing morale as precisely as medicine, reminding assembly that survival demanded cooperation unmarred by rivalries once forged in mine tunnels. Phaeon crouched near corridor grate, tail curled around ankles, luminous eyes reflecting schematic glow. Chalk stubs scraped metal, shaping a starburst familiar to jump drive technicians. Gesture by itself posed a question. Route safety once drive core awakened? Technician answered with an affirming tilt, gloved fist tapped against chest, promise etched through motion rather than speech. Workshop air grew heavier, silence deepening while mist settled. 4 hands reached toward center. Human, insectoid, scaled, wrinkled by years, forming a rough circle above dented ration tin repurposed as covenant anchor. Pact demanded seizure of terraforming arc, flight beyond corporate sensors, cultivation of breathable skies upon an unclaimed world where children might thrive. Fear coiled around ambition, yet resolve pressed outward, spines straightening beneath threadbare fabric. Security siren on a distant deck wailed briefly, ultraviolet strobe washing corridor in pale fire, reminder of ticking schedule. Instead of retreat, group leaned closer, trading data chips, passcodes, secondary routes through fuel lattice. Each secret given became currency, building a bridge across species once divided by policy, hierarchy, suspicion. Thinner oxygen forced rapid breaths, yet conversation held quiet discipline, tension harnessed as catalyst rather than burden. Pearly mist thinned, revealing a mural of handprints smudged upon bulkhead, souvenirs left by evacuees shepherded toward cargo bay earlier. Fading prints ringed Covenant's circle like a silent gallery, urging success through mute testimony. Child pressed palm over smallest mark, eyes narrowing, determination blazing brighter than schematic glow. Engineer adjusted tool satchel, doctor secured compact medkit, technician tightened grip on plasma wrench destined to release arc clamp. Clock diagram on cracked handheld displayed embroidery of patrol vectors sweeping shipyard after every cycle. Opening measured 6 minutes, 43 seconds, margin slender as foil blanket yet sufficient if sabotage pulses blinded scan points. Rel would slice power at junction 42, doctor would guide evacuees through coolant conduit, technician would breach arc service hatch, Phaeon would crawl along data spine, bridging navigation feed with jump coordinates aimed toward a chartless sector flagged radio silent. Metal underboots vibrated, hinting at reactor stress surge. Cargo bay below responded with low groan, a chorus of weary voices rising. Delay risked complete shutdown of climate pumps feeding bay lungs. Covenant circle dissolved into swift motion, each member sprinting toward assigned station through corridors lined with condensation. Agreement demanded absence of doubt, minds locked onto single goal, hearts pounding a unified rhythm that outshouted hunger and exhaustion. Coolant hiss faded behind retreating footsteps, leaving workshop empty yet humming with residual heat of promise. A battered ration tin remained upon crate, lid catching lamp glow, mute witness to resolve strong enough to bend steel confines of a corporate flagship. Ribbed alloy walls breathed faint heat as a vent cover eased inward under practiced grip. Recycled air meandered through mesh screens, carrying hints of coolant and stale sweat toward dark corners. Distant machinery pulses kept rhythm, each thrum marking precious seconds lost to dwindling oxygen reserve. Steel belly of flagship offered passage only through shafts barely wider than shoulders. Hand over hand, refugees pulled along cable bundles wrapped in grime, knees sliding over grit that scoured fabric thin. Lamplight from a single handheld strip carved trembling tunnels of gold through dust motes, revealing code tags stamped with rusted batch numbers. Landmarks in a maze few dared enter. A wrist console hovered above technician's palm, holographic grid mapping power junctions with emerald vectors. Insider credentials coaxed relay locks open, rerouting current along ghost pathways, leaving security monitors blind to heat blooms creeping toward aft sector. Every digit tap felt loud enough to summon patrol drones, yet silence endured, held together by collective breath. Segment valves lining shaft spine ticked under recalibration. Multi-jointed hands belonging to insectoid engineer danced across control studs, tightening flow tolerances, damping vent output just enough to veil carbon traces of moving bodies. Life support controller logs displayed stable atmospheric balance, unaware of covert adjustments shielding escape. Elder physician guided rear rank, voice turned low and even, delivering quiet counsel about measured breathing, steady pulse, focused thought. Saurian youth crept beside this guide, tail pressed close, eyes bright with intent, chalking tiny orientation sigils near junction seems to steer returning scouts if separation occurred. Humidity climbed. Already thin air thinned further as filtration grid in remote zone stalled for maintenance cycle, event flagged earlier by stolen diagnostic feed. Lips cracked, chests ached, yet retreat remained unspoken. Determination pushed muscles forward, past grate after grate, until a motion sensor node appeared, small ceramic eye glowing amber. A spanner bridged test contacts, forcing sensor into calibration loop. Amber faded. Passage opened. Fingers brushed coolant pipe chilled to biting cold, absorbing heat from skin yet offering momentary relief from suffocating warmth. Bonds tightened through such unspoken exchanges, one hand steadying another over tricky beam, a quick share of remaining sips from battered canteen, a nod acknowledging courage under strain. Alarm klaxon erupted 2 decks above. Crimson strobes bled through grill slots, painting cramped tunnel in warlike hue. Pulse quickened across column, yet route remained clear. Security response raced toward phantom surge created by engineers' prior diversion, magnetizing salvage cranes long enough to fake reactor breach. Crawlers seized window of confusion to slide deeper toward shipyard spine. Final stretch sloped downward, gravity easing burden yet stressing joints already bruised. Carbon dioxide alarms on console flirted with warning threshold. Timer under grid readout blinked furious orange urging haste. One more hatch, 4 torque bolts, narrow spit into ballast trunk. Cover swung free, granting access to service catwalk bathed in cold sapphire light from dock void outside panoramic panels. Oxygen sensors climbed gradually once again. Refugees spilled onto catwalk, limbs shaking, lungs drawing fresher draft, ears tuned for telltale drone hum. Silence answered. Glances met, weariness mingled with fragile triumph. Path toward unfinished arc lay 2 bulkheads ahead, security net still dormant due to power reroute. Journey through vents had measured nerves, yet cooperation sharpened resolve sharper than any blade stored in armory racks above. Forward motion resumed in concert, every step echoing shared vow birthed in cargo bay shadows. Static-laced orders crackled over internal comm grid as security drones darted along corridor ceilings, cerium eyes scanning for unauthorized heat signatures. Steel shutters slammed behind each patrol, rails squealing under haste, sealing habitat rings one after another until only engine bay remained unswept. Orbit control deck projected purge directive across officer consoles, crimson glyphs spelling forced clearance of stowaways before dawn watch. Command hierarchy trusted glossy metrics, faith in decisive containment, while refinery reactors rumbled beneath, oblivious to political calculus above. A lone figure ducked beneath radiator fins, visor glow reflecting across coolant pools shimmering emerald under emergency lumens. Key codes danced across wrist display, sequences grafted from months maintaining drives churned into fresh sabotage. Fingers guided data needles straight into propulsion relay cores, rewriting ignition schedule, rerouting fuel valves toward starboard thruster cluster. Pressure surged down silver conduits as auxiliary pumps kicked into sprint mode. Magnetic actuators slammed shut behind diverter plates, trapping volatile mixes where combustion sensors remained offline for calibration, a blind spot only one technician understood fully. A single tap executed override. Momentary hush followed, vacuum before storm. Thruster bank roared alive, ship frame shuddered, hull plating along dorsal keel vibrated with raw kinetic fury. External monitors registered sudden attitude drift. Emergency logic assumed collision avoidance failure, triggering evacuation countdown across entire battleship. Crimson hazard lamps flooded decks, chase strobes sweeping shadows into sharp relief, siren howl rolling through ventilation like hunting horn. Within cargo shafts, blanket-clad families froze as red glow washed over foil, twin feelings colliding, terror at unknown blast, relief at opportunity concealed within chaos. Guide marks scrawled earlier by chalk lit under ruby glare, pointing toward maintenance hatch already unsealed by insectoid engineer. One by one survivors funneled through, urgency propelled by thruster thunder while drones rerouted toward engine anomaly. Command net filled with status queries, bridge officers shouting across comm loops for diagnostic readouts, yet propulsion console remained locked in continuous restart cycle, all data loops reporting plausible sensor ghost rather than sabotage. Each passing minute carved wider breach in surveillance grid, granting migrants vital passage toward Arc Dock. Red radiance bathed strained faces creeping along catwalks, every pulse echoing in arteries, yet footfalls remained purposeful, silent vows powering muscles past fatigue. Elder medic carried fractured tibia patient upon makeshift sling, Saurian youth kept pace while small hands clutched schematic shard glowing faint turquoise. No drone appeared. Decoy had drawn swarm far sternward. Engine roar tapered into dull thrum as fuel valves choked themselves per tampered safety directive. Supervisors declared stable state. Purge squads stood down pending assessment. Hazard lamps lingered in warning mode, painting escape route with ochre sheen akin to sunrise glimpsed across distant deserts. That glow filled lungs with courage richer than oxygen, proof that resistance could shape machinery, bend destiny. Cargo bay ghosts stepped into arc loading gantry at final bell, eyes wide, shoulders squared by living memory of roaring fire born inside human resolve. Purge order still hung within comm archives, yet hope surged brighter, outweighing fear upon crimson-lit steel. Starlight slipped through drydock lattice, silver blades slicing yard gloom while command decks above slumbered under false confidence. Maintenance tugs, compact workhorses painted oxide red, rested in charging cradles, canopy glass shimmering faint green from coolant readouts. Hull plating still held residual warmth from latest ore transfer, perfect camouflage for heat signatures about to surge aboard. Hydraulic hiss blended with whisper of boots gliding across gantry mesh. A biometric key slab received coded pulse sourced from seized officer badge, amber diode granting passage without alarm chirp. Within cockpit, a pulse of switches brought fusion capacitors online, gauges swung toward launch threshold. Pilot seat cushions swallowed exhaustion, leaving only lean focus. Cargo bay hatches rolled wide upon remote command, revealing first column of evacuees shrouded beneath emergency foil, eyes gleaming with anxious purpose. Lines formed fluidly, each species slotting shoulder against shoulder, earlier quarrels dissolved beneath pressing mandate of dawn arrival. Air tasted of ionized grease, yet lungs expanded with determination. 2 insectoid loaders scuttled beneath tug underside, limb pairs cradling titanium seed vaults embossed with world flora sigils. Each crate locked into magnetic rack with gentle click, ensuring germ banks would survive thrust tremors. Recovered habitat cores, transparent cylinders housing algae panes, microbial nutrient loops, hydroponic substrate, followed quickly, passed hand to claw to scaled talon without hesitation. Thruster ignition painted decking orange. Tug lifted, drifted from cradle, inertial dampers swallowing judder. Pilot throttled minimal vectors, craft skating low across yard expanse, hugging blind strip between storage silos and sensor tower. Portable jammer field bloomed behind tail cones, masking radar scatter for short bursts. Rail-mounted cranes above remained dark, unaware of fleet passing beneath. First shuttle reached arc airlock within 8 minutes. Grapples bit docking collar, gangway extended, refugees poured through dim corridors smelling of curing polymer. Engineer limbs danced across control pads, awakening environmental panels lying dormant since hull completion. Algae tubes pulsed emerald as circulation pumps whirred, stale cabin scent replaced by organic freshness that coaxed astonished smiles. Back across yard, second tug already filled to capacity hovered ready. Ground crews, once miners, medics, machine techs, worked as single organism, sliding final crate into hold, slamming restraining arms shut. Siren wail erupted on far catwalk. Security drone detecting power fluctuation at abandoned relay. Alarm ripple threatened cascade. Pilot launched early, G-forces squeezing ribs as craft knifed through vapor trails. Arc gangway absorbed second load moments later. Refugee flow accelerated, choreographed by chalk arrows glowing under ultraviolet lanterns. Doctor guided frail elders toward medbay pods. Youth sprinted to secure bunks. Insectoid crew linked coolant hoses from tug tanks to arc life support, bolstering reserves against unforeseen breaches. Crane warning lights across yards suddenly blazed amber, patrol route revision sweeping search flood past hull exteriors. Engineer fingers raced over datapad, injecting false luminescence pattern into maintenance logs, forcing Crane AI to chase phantom hull stress near bow thrusters. Yard floodlights pivoted away from covert operation, granting final convoy of tugs crucial passage. Hull tremor signaled boarding ramp retraction. Internal manifold sighed as hatch seals latched. Arc interior lights graduated from crimson to dawn gold, power grid accepting load from auxiliary turbines scavenged during previous shift. A hush fell through corridors, moments suspended between pursuit and propulsion, broken by soft exhalations carrying gratitude rather than fear. Outside viewport, drydock gantries rose like skeletal parapets beneath star-dusted void. Yard sensors at last registered unauthorized tug movement. Sirens flared, but decks already stood empty, tugs drifting harmless after remote autopilot commands crashed fuel pump. Corporate purge squad sprinted across hangar floor too late to grasp shadow of arc easing from berth, inertia thrusters gliding hull past final containment ring. Inside bridge alcove, technician's hand hovered above ignition command. Surrounding crew, scaled, chitin-plated, furred, smooth-skinned, watched readout lines converge upon green alignment mark. Hope swelled across ranks, transcending species, erasing memory of scraps fought over days prior. Command palm press start. Reactor core awakened with low growl, hull lights surged, and dormant arc embraced voyage toward uncharted dawn. Kill-grid towers ringed yard outskirts, each mast crowned with paired ruby lenses primed to carve meteoroids into ash. Beams linked towers in weaving blades of incandescent cobalt, drifting across void like silk ribbons, yet slicing harder than diamond. Beneath luminous lattice, arc engines whispered, reactor pulse subdued to reduce thermal bloom that would betray escape. Control alcove pulsed emerald from diagnostic glyphs, while chitin-plated engineer raced 6 digits across targeting matrix gold lines. Spurious telemetry flooded weapon cores, illusory derelict barges placed at opposite quadrant to draw initial salvo wide. Lattice gyroscopes swiveled, trackers hunting ghosts scattered through sensor fog. Bridge canopy rattled as evasive thrust flung hull into engagement corridor. Pilot fingers wrapped throttles, gaze darting between trajectory arcs and rhythmic pale flashes emerging from observation deck. Each flash, delivered by Saurian youth raising improvised lamp, signaled micro-openings inside energy net, windows measured in heartbeats rather than seconds. First gap yawned double-wide of keel span. Engines flared, arc rolled starboard, plated belly skimming under scorching ribbon bright enough to blind visor glass. Laser sheath kissed hull flank, ceramite bubbled, exposing conduit braid. A maintenance tug lashed behind cargo blister caught full beam. Hull peeled, occupants cast into silent fireball that evaporated before alarm reports reached bridge. Shock rippled through corridors, yet movement never faltered. Refugee crews along catwalks secured loosened cargo, soot-soaked hands gripping rails while prayers mingled with coolant steam. Observation lamp blinked twice. Next portal already forming. Rel injected new phantom signal, detectors spun to counter feint, clearing path near dorsal array barely wider than shuttle wing. Arc pitched upward, dorsal antennae shearing off in sizzling cascade that lit cabin roofs crimson. An avian miner shielding younger sibling caught stray debris. Crimson spray blossomed across aluminium deck before medics hauled motionless form toward infirmary. Constraint tightened. Only 2 lattice spans remained, both sweeping erratic spirals as weapon logic buckled under data storm. Phaeon perched high on sensor mast, tail braced against railing, lamp swung in looping arc mapping final safe vector. Pilot trusted glow without hesitation, throttles slammed open, inertial dampers groaning while hull roared through narrowing funnel of energy blades converging like jaws around prey. Forward viewport filled with white glare, retinal filters dimmed vainly. Reactor surge propelled vessel beyond grid line just as twin beams clashed behind stern, collision birthing thunderous halo that rocked towers off alignment. Silence crept across consoles. Ruby lenses dimmed, systems inside kill grid cycled through reboot routine spitting static. Engine output eased, amber cabin lights softened, revealing bruised steel, smoke plumes, tear-streaked cheeks, hands gripping railings with marrow-deep insistence upon survival. Losses counted upon whisper, 2 tugs, 17 souls. Survivors pressed palms against bulkheads in mournful salute while Ark drifted into starfield free from corporate crosshairs. Amid grief rose ember of triumph. Lattice built to shred dreams had opened just wide enough under union of code, courage, and lamp-guided faith. Hope, seared yet radiant, coursed through corridors where foil blankets once rustled. Every breath drew promise from chill air, every heartbeat carried vow to honor those left within glowing jaws behind stern. Crimson drive plumes from pursuing frigates painted sensor screens with swaths of warning gold, each pulse closing space between hunter and arc. Hull armor, scarred by beam grazes, shivered under silent alarms while reactor banks pushed turbines toward ignition threshold seldom approached outside test labs. Navigation bay air tasted of ozone when Dr. Ilari reached jump console, robe hem brushing polished deck plates still warm from recent surge burn. Weathered fingers hovered above crystal keys, pupils measuring drift vectors, heart aligning timing marks only half verified by archived simulations. Unknown coordinates filled chart. An unclaimed sector whispered across minor gossip long before evacuation, free of patrol routes, free of tariffs, free of surveillance but rich in mystery. Survival demanded gamble. Bridge crew secured harness straps, spoken prayers mixing with coolant hiss. Young Saurian perched atop auxiliary ladder, tail wrapped around rung, hand clutching signal lamp crafted from scavenged lens. 3 quick flashes cut gloom, final confirmation that gardens deep within Ark hull held full cargo and crew, hatches sealed, seeds stable. Engineer crouched near weapon control cabling, arm plates catching console glow. Override strings continued tracing loops through turret circuitry, ensuring frigate fire control computers still believed hull remained salvage drone instead of refugee sanctuary. Distraction bought heartbeats, jump waited for none. Doctor's palm pressed ignition crystal. Gravity lurched sideways, starfield outside viewport warped into shifting river of ultraviolet sparks. Hull ribs groaned, bolts cried out under sudden strain as spacetime curvature wrapped vessel in luminous sheath. Every light aboard dimmed, cycles realigned, artificial gravity flicked off for 6 breaths before gyroscopes re-engaged, placing feet firmly on deck once more. Mid-transit, cradle garden levels blossomed into spectacle that banished chill memory of bare steel floors. Holographic dawn filtered through transparent algae towers, casting rose and amber stripes across aisles where children clutched railings in awe. Micrometeor soil beds burst with rapid germination, wheat sending emerald spears skyward, scent of damp earth drifting through ducts. Pollination drones hummed like distant lullabies, wings scattering motes of silver pollen that danced in low gravity. Elders who once sagged beneath hunger straightened as photosynthetic warmth soaked creased skin. Insectoid caretakers unfolded iridescent wing covers, absorbing infrared glow from radiant panels newly awakened by biosphere protocol. Human technicians smiled despite swollen knuckles, cheeks glowing with first real sense of dawn since atmosphere processors failed back on mining moon. Jump corridor turbulence rippled across frame, yet seeds remained anchored within shock-absorbent pods. Water channels flowed, shimmered turquoise, carrying nutrients toward root lattices. Soft illumination replaced harsh cabin strobes, violet hues calming frayed nerves while reactor hums settled into soothing cadence that promised arrival beyond corporate grasp. Frigate signatures vanished from long-range display, left behind by single bold leap into chartless dark. Artificial horizon ahead shimmered with cosmic dust arcs untouched by trade routes, realm brimming with untold promise. On bridge, medical chief exhaled, shoulders lowering, gaze sweeping across monitors confirming hull integrity and life support surplus. A hush followed, thicker than fear yet lighter than sorrow, embracing crew in shared realization that exile had shifted into journey of choice. Seedlings swayed within gentle airflow, perfume of young growth drifting upward to command deck. Line after line of careworn faces lifted toward viewports filled with star clusters dancing across inky gulf. Memories of cargo bay hunger remained, scars etched upon souls, yet new color, new warmth, new air rewrote despair into resolve. Uncharted sector waited, soil unknown, skies untested. Cradle gardens thrived mid-void, living proof that resourcefulness eclipsed oppression. Every heartbeat aboard Ark pulsed with fresh conviction. Survival no longer clung to scrap heaps. It bloomed, vibrant and unstoppable, beneath canopy of stars free from corporate claim. Dawn light brushed silver across wide grass plains, each blade whispering against neighbor under a gentle sea, salt breeze drifting from sapphire lakes beyond low ridges. Pale twin moons hung over horizon edges, one half-shadowed, one glowing amber, casting layered halos upon hull plates of an Ark finally at rest. Landing struts eased deeper into lush soil, tremors subsided, engines dimmed into calm hum, warm scent of peat rising around cooling metal. Cargo hatches parted, releasing soft steam scented by cradle garden blossoms, mingling with untamed air rich in oxygen and unfamiliar spice. First footsteps met springy turf, toes curling in living earth after seasons spent on alloy decking. Families gathered in widening circles, faces tilted skyward, irises reflecting moons and rising sun. Breath arrived fuller, lungs expanding without aid from filtration grids. Laughter slipped free, fragile yet bright, carried across meadow toward distant forest where tall crimson-leaf trees waved greeting. Insectoid technicians unfurled climbing limbs, gauging trunk strength for shelter frames. Saurian farmers knelt, claws turning sod to examine dark loam shimmering with healthy microbe. Human miners shouldered survey packs, charting groundwater lines revealed by glistening dew patches. A scarf still smeared with coolant grease draped across technician shoulders as that figure stepped aside, palms open, viewpoint yielding to crowd energy surging toward creation. Former strangers formed work teams without debate. Carpenters sketching beam angles with sticks upon soil, medics marking clinic plots near freshwater springs, educators selecting hillside clearings where morning light enters first. Hushed coordination flowed smoother than any corporate drill once enforced by quotas. Dr. Ilari led seed vault bearers toward gently sloping valley whose microclimate promised bumper harvests. Each crate cracked open released scents of coriander, maize, and citrus saplings, aroma weaving through rising chorus of anticipation. Algae pods from garden decks found new purpose, nested beside stream to enrich irrigation channels yet to be carved. Every gesture built upon earlier whispers spoken within cargo bay shadows, a pledge transforming into landscape. Under widening sky, engineers' multifaceted gaze tracked beams cut from fallen trunks, joints lashed with fiber ropes spun on site, panels shaped from arc hull sheeting repurposed into roofing that shimmered rose under dawn glare. Children raced along timber outlines tracing future school walls, voices ringing clear across valley, timing hammers that thumped rhythmic foundation stake. Technician palms pressed soil, feeling pulse of planet beneath skin, pulse matching heartbeat of community coalescing around shared endeavor. Grease-stained scarf lifted in breeze, silver threads catching sun, symbol of first invitation delivered beside trembling child days earlier inside cold cargo hold. That single sentence had matured into living covenant. Every soul upon this moon would stand guarded by neighbors, hands ready, hearts open, needs answered before want could turn to despair. Evening glow approached as shelters rose, smoke from inaugural hearths curling skyward carrying scent of baking grain mixed with forest resin. Cradled by twin moons, settlers gathered around central fire, trading stories older than voyage, laughter mingling with flute crafted from hollow reed moments earlier. Grass plains shimmered gold under starlight, arc silhouette resting at meadow edge like watchful guardian. Wind carried quiet promise across camp. Exile ended, belonging begun. Breath, soil, water, shelter, learning, governance, all claimed through collaboration rather than decree. Each flame-lit face glowed with certainty that scarcity would remain memory, generosity current reality, unity permanent guide. Under that promise, night settled warm, gentle, alive with possibility.